Sarah pressed her forehead against her office window, watching raindrops race down the glass. 3 urgent client emails, 5 missed calls from her apartment manager about water damage, and the hospital's number sitting heavy in her recent contacts. Another late night, Sarah muttered, surveying the deserted office. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, her only company. No choice, she added with a resigned sigh, massaging her temples. Her phone lit up on the desk, the hospital's number flashing across the screen. Her throat tightened as trembling fingers reached for the call. Ms. Reynolds, your mother's condition is stable, but we're recommending additional tests. The nurse's voice was kind but clinical. I'll be there tomorrow, Sarah managed, ending the call just as her computer chimed with her boss requesting urgent revisions to the project she'd nearly completed. Sarah's hand trembled slightly as she reached for her coffee. At 32, she was the youngest senior marketing director at her firm, with the downtown apartment she'd dreamed of in college. From the outside, she'd built the perfect life. If only someone could see the constant current of anxiety that had become her unwelcome companion. 3 days later, the perfect storm hit. Sarah's car died on the highway during a downpour. The hospital called about her mother needing additional medical tests, and her boss texted that their client wanted to completely revamp the project she'd spent weeks perfecting. Sitting in her disabled car as rain hammered the roof, Sarah felt her chest constrict. Her breathing quickened into short, painful gasps. The world narrowed to a pinpoint as sounds muffled like she was underwater. I can't, she gasped, fumbling with her seatbelt. God, I can't breathe. As her trembling fingers reached for her phone, her Bible app notification flashed across the screen. Her forgotten daily verse, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." Sarah let out a laugh that dissolved into a sob. Peace. Now? Yet something about those words stayed with her as her breathing slowly steadied. She remembered the Bible passage of Jesus sleeping through a storm at sea. How could anyone sleep through a life-threatening situation? Sarah's fingers trembled slightly as she opened her Bible app, seeking any comfort in this storm of a day. She found the story that had always fascinated her. Jesus asleep on a cushion, while experienced fishermen panicked as waves threatened to sink their boat. The image of such profound peace amid chaos resonated deeply today. Digging through her purse, she found an old, crumpled receipt and uncapped a pen with her teeth. On the faded paper, she scribbled, "Peace pause, 30 seconds, 3 times daily. Breathe, and say, 'The Lord is here.'" She stared at the words, both skeptical and desperate enough to try anything. "This is stupid," Sarah muttered the next morning, staring at the words she wrote on the receipt. Her inbox was already overflowing, and she needed to visit her mother before work. But the memory of yesterday's crushing panic attack made her pause. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "The Lord is here," she whispered, her mind immediately flooded with to-do lists and worries. "The Lord is here," she repeated more firmly. 30 seconds later, nothing had changed. Her problems remained exactly the same. With a sigh, she reached for her phone just as it rang with her boss demanding updates. "You look like you're drowning," Mia said, sliding a fresh latte across the cafe table on Sunday morning. Unlike Sarah's carefully maintained exterior, Mia had never bothered hiding her struggles. Today, her best friend since college wore a messy bun and yoga pants, a casual appearance she adopted from her job as a night shift ER nurse. "Got time to talk about it?" Or are you racing off to another crisis? Mia asked, stirring honey into her tea. Sarah's eyes widened. How did you... I recognize the look on your face. Wore it myself during nursing school. She tapped Sarah's mug. Drink up and spill. Over steaming drinks, Sarah explained her week and her failed attempts at finding peace. I've tried this peace pause thing, but my mind just... Sarah's hands fluttered like startled birds, and nothing's actually changed. If anything, things are worse. Mia studied her tea. You know, when I lost my dad 2 years ago, I thought I'd never find my footing again. Sarah had forgotten how recently Mia had gone through that loss. That story you mentioned about the storm at sea, think about it. When Jesus calmed that storm, what happened first? The disciples woke him up. And then? He spoke to the waves, and they obeyed. Mia nodded. But what happened in between? Before the storm recognized his authority? Sarah frowned. I don't know. Exactly. The Bible doesn't say. Mia's eyes held understanding, not judgment. Jesus wasn't peaceful because the storm stopped. The storm stopped because Jesus was peaceful. She reached for Sarah's hand. Your peace practice isn't failing because you still feel anxious. You're training your spirit to recognize a presence greater than your storm. Sarah continued her peace pauses. 30 seconds, 3 times daily. Some days it felt pointless. Other days, a fleeting moment of calm would surprise her. Then came the Wednesday that tested everything. Sarah sat in the hospital waiting room while her mother underwent an emergency procedure. Her phone buzzed constantly with work crises, and her apartment manager had called about extensive water damage requiring temporary relocation. As waiting stretched to hours, Sarah felt the familiar tightness in her chest. The Lord is here, she whispered, but her mind screamed back. Is he? Where? First time? A gravelly voice interrupted her thoughts. Sarah opened her eyes to see an elderly woman in a hospital volunteer vest sitting across from her. Her name tag read Ruth, and her face bore the deep lines of someone intimately acquainted with suffering. Excuse me? First time in the waiting room? Worry spiral, Ruth clarified, her weathered hands clutching a worn paperback. You get a look, like everything's caving in. Something about Ruth's direct gaze made Sarah's defenses crumble. Words tumbled out about her mother, work, apartment, all of it. Sorry, Sarah finally said, embarrassed. I don't usually unload on strangers. Good thing I'm Ruth, not stranger, the woman replied with a wink. Been volunteering here since my Frank died. Cancer. 17 years this March. She closed her book. Want to know what helps me? Instead of offering platitudes, Ruth simply took Sarah's hand and closed her eyes. Lord, you're here in this mess, all of it, not just in the pretty put-together parts. Show Sarah you're right here in the chaos, not taking it away, but walking through it with her. The prayer was simple, unpolished, yet Sarah felt something shift inside her. Not a dramatic change, but a small loosening of the knot in her chest. I've been trying this peace thing, Sarah admitted. It's not working very well. Ruth's laugh was like wind chimes. Peace isn't something we achieve, it's something we receive. She pointed to a plant in the corner. That fern doesn't strain to get light. It just turns toward the sun. When the doctor finally emerged with news the procedure had gone well, Sarah turned to thank Ruth, but the elderly volunteer had disappeared. Over the following weeks, Sarah's circumstances remained challenging. Her mother's recovery was slow. She stayed in her friend's guest room while her apartment underwent repairs. Work deadlines continued to loom. Yet Sarah persisted with her peace practice, now understanding it wasn't about making anxiety disappear, but making room for God's presence within it. The change became evident during a critical client meeting. When technology failed and her presentation wouldn't display, the old Sarah would have panicked. Instead, recognizing her rising heart rate, she took a deep breath. The Lord is here, even in this moment. The anxiety didn't vanish, but it no longer controlled her. With surprising composure, she delivered the presentation without visuals, connecting with the clients more personally than slides ever could. "What's your secret?" her boss asked afterward. "You were completely unflustered." "I've been practicing peace," she said simply. 6 months later, Sarah stood at her office window, watching another rainstorm. Her mother was recovering at home. Her apartment was finally repaired. Work was still demanding, but no longer crushing. The anxiety hadn't disappeared. It still visited during particularly stressful times, but it no longer defined her. Across the office, a new intern stared anxiously at mounting deadlines, clearly overwhelmed as thunder crashed outside. Sarah recognized that look all too well. Walking over, she sat down beside her. "Tough day?" The intern nodded, blinking back tears. "I've been there," Sarah said gently. "Let me tell you about a boat, a storm, and the man who slept through it all." As rain fell against the windows, Sarah shared her story, not of an absence of troubles, but of a presence within that nothing could wash away.